Several years ago, my sisters and I were home alone one morning, and my mother and my father had gone to a doctor's appointment. Now, we hadn't heard from them in a couple hours, and we were starting to get a little bit worried. And that's when we noticed my mother's van drive in the driveway and my father's truck. My older sister, Isabella, called us downstairs and said, guys, something's wrong. Mom and Dad both came home. So immediately we were all like, what went wrong? And you're sitting in the living room, and my parents walked in, and my mom was starting to cry, and she said, girls, it's all going to be okay, but I was just diagnosed with breast cancer. The topic that I have drawn today is, what can we be certain about in the midst of uncertainty? I'm going to take you through two personal stories where I would learn that I can be certain about God's plan for me in the midst of uncertainty, and then finally we'll discuss how we can continue to be certain in the midst of uncertainty and why that is significant. So to continue on with my introduction, we were all a little shocked. She had no history of it, and all of a sudden she was now diagnosed with it. First thing my mother let me know is that she was going to be okay. There was a treatment plan. She was going to be able to go through it. But it took several months, and 2 surgeries later, radiation. My mom was a little bit different. She was a lot more tired than she used to be. The way her attention span had changed. Her life had changed. The dynamic in our household had changed. And during that point in time, I was going through a very big time emotionally speaking in my own life. I had just turned 13 and all my elements, and I felt like everything around me was changing. And I couldn't figure out what was the same. Why was everything changing? Why did it feel like everything was going so wrong? I was starting to doubt my faith and why I was even supposed to be alive. And that's when I read a verse in my Bible that said that God has a plan for us. And he does. God's will is sovereign. And he knows what he has planned for us, and he has planned specific trials in our lives to shape us. My mother came through breast cancer and just recently got her final doctor's appointment that says she's 5 years out. She no longer needs to go back to the surgeon. She's cancer-free for 5 years. She should be fine. And that was a tremendously joyful experience, and we were very excited when we learned that she didn't have to go back. However, those trials, especially during that difficult time when I was doubting my faith and wondering what my purpose was, God showed me that he has given me resilience. He's given me those trials to learn how to relate to others when their mother is going through breast cancer, or when they're doubting their faith, or when they don't know why they're alive. He's given me the ability to say, I've been where you are. Trust me, it's gonna be okay. And now I'm going through another trial, but this is one that most everyone goes through. Senior year of high school. Senior year of high school is a very stressful experience. You're applying to different colleges. You're trying to figure out where you want to go next year and what you want to do for the next stage of your life. And while I've applied to 2 different colleges and I had narrowed it down specifically very early on, I still don't know what God's plan for me is yet. I have heard back from those colleges, and I'm still waiting on a few more answers. However, I still don't know where I'm going next year. And as it's getting into March and it's getting closer to where I need to make a decision, that's starting to get a little bit stressful. However, I can be confident that I have certainty in uncertain times. God's love for me is not going to change. His plan for my life is perfect. And while I may not know what that is yet, I know that I will find out what that is when it happens. So I don't need to be uncertain about my future. I know that it's in God's hands, and I know it's going to be okay. As we're moving in our lives and things are starting to become more uncertain in political affairs, in world events, in our personal lives, our jobs, when everything around us seems to be changing, we can be certain that God's love for us is still there. God's plan for our lives is going to be good. He has declared himself to be a good, holy, and loving God. We can be certain of this in uncertain times. Thank you.